It's Daybreak on the Rise News, and it's time for the press preview. A first look at what's on the front pages as they arrive. We started with our sister publication this day. Viewers rate the Rise presidential town hall high, set agenda for candidates, and security strategy against non-state actors yielding results, says Monguno. And also on the front page this morning, PDP crisis, I won't support Atiku's presidential bid, says Autumn.
Let's take a look at The Guardian Nigeria this morning. 2023 G5 PDP governors not relenting in fight with IU. Some writers there, Autumn, to hell with Atiku and anyone supporting him. Benue Road leading to IU's house, named after Wike.
Moving on to other papers now, so let's see what the leadership is saying. And it's leading with the die is cast in PDP. G5 governors launch campaign against Atiku Abubakar. An ex-leadership editor, Danladi Ndayebo, is dead. Organ harvesting UK court moves at Kwerimadu's trial to January the 31st. And 600 court cases affecting 2023 preparations. And that's according to INEC.
And we take a look at the Guardian newspaper this morning. 2023 G5 PDP governors not relenting in fights with IU Atiku. And also Nigeria Twitter agreement risks collapse over global restructuring. Stop 2023 elections, politics not solution to Nigeria's problems, says Ogwimi.
The Punch newspaper, 2023 elections, INEC laments tough times as flood overruns 20 INEC buildings. Just below that, those leading photos, day 138, daughter in court as Ekweremadu still imprisoned. Let's take a look at more headlines above the nameplate of Punch this morning. Terror, UK warns citizens to avoid 22 states.
Let's look at other papers now. The international papers, Financial Times. Chancellor lines up stealth raid on inheritance tax to shore up finances, and rich nations have a duty to pay up for climate solidarity pact. And that's according to the UN chief Antonio Guterres.
And also on the foreign scene, the Daily Telegraph, gas deal set to ease energy crisis. Hunt move will make more people pay inheritance tax.
The Independent this morning, soon actions pleas for climate crisis repatriations. The UN chief warns world is on highway to hell over emissions.
We're still talking climate issues. Poor nations paying twice for climate breakdown. That was The Guardian.
And also this morning in the NI paper, red alert for Earth, gravest warnings yet on climate change.
And for the press preview, let's bring in Emmanuel Bello, who joins us now. Emmanuel, good morning. Thanks for joining us. Let's take a look at what's making the top headline on this day newspaper, still on that presidential town hall that was set up by Arise TV. It says, viewers rate Arise presidential town hall high, set agenda for candidates. Some writers there urge others to honor invitations to address the public, and Nigerians are divided over the performance of key presidential hopefuls. So all the reactions have been trailing in. I mean, we spoke about this yesterday. What are some of the reactions that you've seen from talking to other people, from social media, and also about others honoring invitations to address the public? We know that the Labour Party had a press conference where they made the decision that their presidential candidates, Peter Obi, will no longer come to any presidential town hall meeting set up by any media house or debate if other presidential candidates don't show up. He doesn't want to debate or have any sort of discussions with proxies, they said.
Well, good morning, Kechi. Kenneth, welcome back. Yes, I don't think that's a very wise decision, but we'll come to that. On the debate, on the town hall itself, Arise has been getting great reviews. A lot of people applauding what we did and what the network did. It's not novel. Networks around the world do that during election cycles like this, so that you get into the head of the people. Like I say, it's about ideas. The world is changing. The major election, even the U.S. midterm election, is right now based on issues, the economy, and those things are winning elections or making some people lose elections. So it's always good to get those perspectives, to be able to get into the minds of the people, to see what kind of big ideas or big visions they are having on various issues. So that's what this Rice presidential town hall really presented, and it was huge. But of course, people talk about those teething problems before the little shouting match, which I suspect I suspect led to what the OB camp is saying, that look, henceforth they will not take proxies. But even as at yesterday, you heard people like Kwankwaso saying that look, you just have to allow for proxies in some of these things because of just the sheer issue of logistics, the fact that they can't just be on all network and everywhere. Because I suspect that arising from, forgive the pun, from what Arise did yesterday on Sunday, there will be probably more of this kind of town halls with people. Other networks present, trying to invite presidential candidate to speak. And it's very important, yes, that we hear directly from the presidential candidate, but it's also good to catch a vision of the issues from the campaign themselves. So that's where you have campaign spokesperson who are able to articulate clearly what those campaigns stand for, what those candidates stand for. It's very important that the spokesmen are also doing just that, speaking for the campaign and actually being abreast, not just with the presidential candidate. And the other set of people that will be very important to this kind of debate are the vice president, because the vice president is just a breath away, like they say, to the presidency. So you want to also get an idea of what he is saying, and that's why I think Okowa, for instance, was getting a lot of applause for his performance. Others say that, look, it would have been better to hear directly from Atiku, but Okowa seemed to be, was on top of the situation. He's a vice presidential candidate for the PDP, and that he was really brilliant in the way he was able to come across. So, yes, people are divided on this. The jury is out there. A lot of people discussing it. Some, of course, are bipartisan in their views. Others are very partisan in the kind of outlook. Many are trying to be very, very objective in the way they're assessing the minds of these people. But one thing everybody agrees with is that, look, it was a good show, and it was a good thing that we're hearing directly from these people.
And we do know that these debates and town halls are not constitutional. Candidates can decide not to show up if they want to. And it's up to you really to show up and do what you have to do and not wait for another candidate. Still in this day, Emmanuel, talking of the PDP, the governor in Benue State, Samuel Ortom, says he won't support the presidential candidate of his party. In fact, he's used curse words and he's told him to go somewhere. I can't tell if it's below or above.
Yeah, but yes, before that, Kenneth, I think a presidential candidate should actually, of course, it's not constitutional, but they should actually seek out opportunities to talk to people. And they should, if I were a presidential candidate, I would imagine that, look, I'll be looking to talk to people rather than even wait for their invitation. So it's kind of clear. Yeah, that's, you have people that you have to convince people to come and talk, and with some of them even suggested that they will not appear henceforth. I understand the constraint, but I think it's time that, they actually take some kind of advantage of the kind of platforms that will be made available, or even create some for themselves. Campaigns could actually create for some of those town halls to go about and talk to people and convince people. It's still debatable whether this town hall actually change, move the needle in favor of any candidate, but at least gives people the perspective of what they think. Kwankwaso, for instance, in the Arise event, you saw him there with his suit. Before then, all you see is somebody in Babariga with that red cap. But this somebody instead actually discussing 21st century ideas. So this platform, yes, they are not constitutional, and it's debatable whether they can really change anything for any candidate, but they are still very, very important because we get to hear from people who are seeking to lead us. And talking about that, of course, Otom autumn. People, I think, are getting a little bit of a fatigue from the autumn thing and the G5, but they are still dominating the headlines. The Guardian led with that story of the meet in Makurdi, where again they double down on the fact that they are not with Atiku, and that unless the right thing is done, for autumn it's actually very problematic, or even a bit dramatic, because Ayu, who is at the center of the storm, is from his state, and he actually, like you say, Kenneth, like you say, he used a curse word, but beyond that, he actually read something that I considered very not very, very healthy in this election cycle. He said things like, I'm not going to vote Fulani because Fulani people have done damages to our people, and that he will never, in fact, he actually placed the curse on the Tiv people, or his people, or Idoma people, Benue State, that look, anybody that votes for a Fulani person is not doing the right thing, and that is God blood in his hand. I think that is pretty really very deep and very problematic, because everything we try to run away from in this election is contained in that kind of talk. The crisis of ethnicity, the problem of ethnic profiling, and all of that is contained in that. And we all know about the ancient crisis between the Tiv on one hand and Fulani. Kennedy, from this part of the world, you know that they have an ancient thing between the two of them, the Tiv on one hand and the Fulani on the other hand, that centers around the issue of cattle rearing and all of that. Autumn seems to actually be taking that seriously. In the past, it's something that they play around with, but now Autumn weighing on that seriously. Not just about the IU crisis, it's now saying that no, it's about the ethnicity of Atiku, and that he cannot see himself voting in a Fulani man. And this is because of the crisis of, the attacks they've suffered from Fulani militia in the past. So he's saying that Atiku must own that problem. Atiku should suffer from that. Atiku must be punished because of what the Fulani people have done in Benue State. We'll wait to see how the Atiku campaign or camp react to that, I'm sure, in the course of the day.
Now let's take a look at the Punch. One of the big headlines in the Punch, Emmanuel, if you will, and that's on INEC. INEC seems to be facing an Hydra-headed monster. We remember weeks ago they were calling the attention of all the stakeholders in the electoral process on the security issues bedeviling the Northeast and then the Southwest. And now the natural disaster causes flood. INEC has lost about 20 of its officers to flooding, and the chairman is asking for new officers, and also about the 60 cases in court. A whole lot seems to be happening with this electoral body in view of the 2023 general elections. How do you see this panning out at the end of the day? Security issues, now we're dealing with natural disasters, losing offices and equipment, and calling for new equipment, by the way.
Well, Benny, I think it's disturbing to hear that just days or months away into elections, the umpire is still complaining about some of this, but then you can't blame them. It's just a natural disaster, and they say 20 of the offices, and he's still complaining about even the destruction that happened during the EndSARS attack. INEC offices were targeted. So, yes, he's raising those issues and concerned about what's happening, to their offices and logistics and those crises. And then, of course, those court cases, which I think it's a huge problem, because days into elections, you see some of these elections, the primaries in particular, in courts, confusing even the umpire, because sometimes the courts give conflicting, not conflicting, they end people's, of course, they come with judgment that suggests that a party does not have a candidate, and some of those cases are on the appeal, and this is bound to actually, in a way, distract the umpire to know for sure who they are getting into elections with. We should find, there must be a way to deal with some of these court cases so that at least 3 or so months into the elections, you don't have all these issues that are very distracting and sometimes actually clutter up the real issue of voting.
No, Balo, before we let you go, I know you wanted to touch on this sad development. Ex-leadership editor Danladi Ndayebo has passed. That's on the leadership paper this morning.
Yeah, it's a good thing that leadership took that story. He was an editor there. We worked together at leadership. May his soul rest in peace. My heart goes out to him and his family. The story hit us yesterday in a very, very hard way. We pray that for the repose of his soul. It was the best tribute that can be paid to the lady was that he was a friend to all. And for those of us who are closer or close to him, it's this is something that really hit home yesterday in a very hard way. But then may so rest in peace. It was an accident on those horrible roads to Mina. Some of the most horrible roads you can find are on those parts. It's sad, but for now, it's the condolences and the pains that all of us, I share with a lot of his friends and of course the community, the media community. It's such a serious loss, and we just pray that his soul rest in peace, and the rest of us get the fortune to be able to bear this loss, because it's really hard.
Thank you so much, Emmanuel Bello. That's the press preview. Let's hear from you. Join us on Twitter at AriseTV. You can join the conversation with the hashtag AriseDaybreak.